inviting me here today, and thanks to all of you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you about the Holocaust Survivor Cookbook. You are part of my 55-city world tour this year, and I am honored to be here. My late mother-in-law, Vivian Karras, was a very wise and wonderful woman. Just prior to marrying my husband, over 28 years ago, I asked Vivian what it means to be a good Jew. I'll never forget her words. She said to be a good Jew, you must first be a good citizen of the world. Second, you must stand up and be counted as a Jew. And finally, you must give to help other Jews in need. I've always tried to live up to her expectations, but over the last 5 years, I truly began to understand the power of Vivian Karras' words. In 2005, I visited Jerusalem to spend time with my son Jonathan and his wife Sarah. I was joined by Sarah's mother, Gazella Zerker of Teaneck, New Jersey. The newlyweds had recently made Aliyah, and it was our first chance to see them as Israeli citizens. Among the many sights that they showed us was Karma Ha'ir, a soup kitchen that feeds over 500 poor and hungry Israelis every single day. Both my son Jonathan and his wife Sarah were volunteers at that soup kitchen, and they wanted us to see it. Do you know, I walked into that soup kitchen and my life has changed forever. I was so impressed with the soup kitchen, with the dignified way they treated their patrons. Everyone received a menu and was waited on just like any other restaurant that we had been in. The only difference was that those that could not afford to pay did not, and those that had money left tzedakah at the door. I learned that Karma Ha'ir was totally dependent on contributions, and I came back to America determined to raise money for this beautiful mitzvah that they carried out each and every day. My son and my daughter-in-law suggested that we do a cookbook of great Jewish recipes and sell it to benefit the soup kitchen. But shortly after I returned to America, I received a moving letter from Gazella. Her mother had recently passed away, and she'd written to all of our friends to tell us what a wonderful woman her mother was. She also told us her mother was a Holocaust survivor, the only one from her family to survive, and that she had never fully recovered from the sadness of losing her entire family. And that's when the idea hit me. Why not combine stories from Holocaust survivors with their family's recipe? And at that moment, the Holocaust Survivor Cookbook was born. But of course, our work would just begin. My husband, my children, and I set out over the next 2 years to collect stories and recipes. Our goal was 100 stories and 200 recipes. We sent letters to Jewish publications all over the world asking for stories and recipes. And the U.S. Holocaust Museum from Washington, D.C. helped us to publicize our search. At first, the survivors were reluctant to share with me. A stranger, their very personal and painful experiences. For the first 6 months, we did not get one story. Do you know, I was ready to quit. But my mother said to me, Joanne, if you get one story, you'll get 2 and you'll finish the book. Well, I've always tried to be a good daughter, so I kept asking and asking. And over the next 2 years, we were able to collect 129 stories from all over the world, including Israel, South Africa, Europe, Asia, South America, Australia, Canada, and over 20 U.S. states. I remember one day I got a call on my cell phone, and it sounded like this: "Joanne, I'm calling you from New Zealand, and I'd like to send you my husband's story for your cookery book." And that's when I knew that our message had traveled all the way to the other side of the world. Many times, my husband and I were invited into the home of the survivor as they told us their stories, and we took it down by note. Others came by emails, and others came by letters. But they came and they came, and eventually we had to stop collecting, because if you've ever seen the book, how big and heavy it was, we were afraid we'd never be able to ship it out. The stories in this cookbook are amazing. Each one is a miracle. This is a book of 129 miracles.